In the deepest reaches of the ocean, where sunlight dissolves into an endless midnight and pressure crushes like a silent mountain, there is a hunter that science once believed belonged more to myth than reality. A creature so elusive that for centuries, its existence was confirmed only through fragments, torn flesh on whale skin, drifting tentacles, and stories from sailors who swore they had seen something impossible rise from the dark. This is the world of the giant squid. And what scientists are now uncovering about how it hunts is forcing them to rewrite everything they thought they knew about life in the deep sea. Far below the surface, at depths where temperatures hover near freezing and visibility is reduced to nothing more than drifting particles of marine snow, the giant squid moves like a shadow that the ocean itself refuses to reveal. It does not belong to the world of light. It belongs to pressure, silence, and waiting. For decades, researchers assumed the giant squid was a sluggish ambush predator, a drifting relic of evolutionary history, something that survived simply because nothing else could compete in such extreme conditions. But new observations, gathered from deep-sea cameras and rare encounters with living specimens, suggest something far more unsettling. The giant squid is not passive. It is precise. It is adaptive. And it may be one of the most efficient hunters in the entire ocean. Stretching up to 12 meters in length, with eyes the size of dinner plates, the largest eyes in the animal kingdom, the giant squid does not need light to perceive its world. Instead, it reads the ocean through subtle vibrations, faint bioluminescent flashes, and the movement of water displaced by struggling life. In this darkness, vision is not about clarity. It is about detection. Every flicker of movement becomes a signal. Every disturbance becomes information. And somewhere in the Blackwater expanse, those signals are being processed by a brain evolved for one purpose: survival in total absence of light. The giant squid's body is built like a contradiction. Soft, almost fragile in structure, yet armed with extraordinary tools of precision hunting. 8 arms and 2 elongated feeding tentacles extend outward like living cables, each lined with hundreds of suction cups, some equipped with serrated rings capable of gripping prey with industrial strength. But what makes the giant squid truly extraordinary is not just its size or its weapons. It is how it uses them. Deep-sea footage suggests the squid does not chase blindly. Instead, it calculates distance, angle, and drift in a fluid environment where nothing stands still. Its tentacles launch with explosive speed, extending in a fraction of a second, forming a net of living muscle that can seize prey before the target even registers danger. And in that instant, the ocean changes. What was once empty darkness becomes a controlled strike zone. Scientists studying recovered beaks, the hard, parrot-like mouthparts of giant squids, have found evidence of prey far larger and more agile than previously expected. Deep-sea fish with evasive capabilities. Fast-moving crustaceans. Even evidence of battles with other squid species in the abyss. But the most shocking clues come from scars. Massive sperm whales, the giant squid's primary known predator, are often found with circular scars across their skin. These marks are not random. They are the result of suction cups locking in place during violent underwater struggles that can last for hours in total darkness. This reveals something astonishing. The giant squid is not merely prey in the deep ocean food chain. It fights back. And those battles suggest encounters far more frequent and far more aggressive than scientists once believed. To understand how such a creature hunts, researchers have begun to reconstruct its sensory world. Unlike surface predators that rely on sight, the giant squid exists in a realm where sound and pressure dominate. Its body is lined with mechanoreceptors capable of detecting the faintest disturbances in surrounding water. A heartbeat passing nearby. A fin slicing through distance. Even the subtle shift of a predator adjusting its trajectory. In this way, the ocean becomes a three-dimensional map of movement and intention. And the giant squid reads it like language. Yet perhaps the most unsettling discovery is not how it senses prey, but how it may coordinate its attacks. Some scientists now believe the squid can modulate bioluminescent bacteria within its tissues, producing faint flashes of light. Not for illumination, but for communication or disorientation. In a world where light is rare, Even a single pulse could confuse prey long enough to strike. Still, much remains unknown. No human has ever observed a giant squid hunting in its natural environment with complete clarity. Every glimpse is fragmented, grainy footage from deep-sea rigs, or fleeting encounters at the edge of submersibles' lights, where the creature vanishes almost as quickly as it appears. And this absence of observation has created one of marine biology's greatest mysteries. How does a creature so large remain so invisible? The answer may lie in its evolutionary past. Fossil evidence suggests that ancient relatives of the giant squid existed long before modern ocean ecosystems formed. Over millions of years, they adapted not for speed in the traditional sense, but for silence. Their bodies evolved to minimize disturbance in water. Their movements became efficient rather than forceful. Even their eyes evolved into massive light-gathering organs capable of detecting the faintest glow from far distances. In the deep ocean, survival is not about dominance through strength alone. It is about arriving before you are seen. And so the giant squid became something else entirely. Not a brute predator, but a patient architect of motion in darkness. As researchers continue to analyze rare data from deep-sea expeditions, one question grows more urgent. If the giant squid is capable of such calculated hunting strategies, then what exactly is it hunting for in the abyssal void where food is scarce and encounters are rare? And perhaps more disturbing still, what might be hunting it in return? Because in the deep ocean, nothing exists in isolation. Every predator is also part of a larger, hidden chain of survival. And in the case of the giant squid, that chain may extend into territories science has barely begun to explore. Somewhere in the darkness, a signal is sent. A disturbance in the water. A faint flicker of movement in the void. And the giant squid responds. Not with hesitation, but with precision. And as it begins to move, silently, deliberately into the unknown, we are left with a growing realization. We are only beginning to understand what truly hunts in the deepest parts of our planet. And even now, the ocean is still watching back. In the abyssal darkness, there is no sunrise to mark the passage of time. No seasons. No horizon. Only pressure, distance, and the slow movement of life shaped by forces we can barely comprehend. And yet, even here, in what was once thought to be an empty void, the giant squid continues its silent pursuit. What scientists now suspect is that the hunt is not random. It is structured, almost intentional. A strategy refined over millions of years in an environment where every encounter could mean survival or disappearance. Deep-sea research has revealed something unexpected about the squid's behavior during hunting events. It does not always strike immediately. Instead, it appears to observe, to track, to synchronize its movements with the drifting currents and the faint biological signals of nearby life. This challenges the long-standing assumption that deep-sea predators rely purely on chance encounters. Instead, the giant squid may be operating within a far more complex sensory framework, one that transforms the ocean into a predictive environment. A living map of motion. A system where prey is not just detected, but anticipated. And when the strike finally happens, it is not chaotic. It is engineered. The squid's two feeding tentacles extend at extraordinary speed, accelerating through water in a motion so rapid it can only be captured in fragmented frames. At the tips, clusters of suckers open like mechanical traps, each one capable of gripping with immense force. Once contact is made, the prey is pulled inward toward the arms, where a tightening spiral of muscle ensures escape becomes nearly impossible. And then, something even more precise occurs. The beak. Hidden at the center of the arms, it delivers the final stage of the hunt. A hardened structure capable of piercing through tough biological material with crushing efficiency. Scientists who have studied recovered beaks describe them as being more similar to a parrot's beak than anything else in the ocean, but engineered for a far more violent purpose. Yet even this is not the end of the story, because the prey of the giant squid is not always small. Whales bearing scars tell a different narrative. Sperm whales, the ocean's own deep-diving giants, descend into the same blackwater realm in search of squid. But what happens when two apex forces meet in absolute darkness is something rarely witnessed directly. Evidence suggests prolonged struggles, battles lasting deep into the midnight zone. Circular scars on whale skin match the diameter of giant squid suckers, sometimes clustered in patterns that suggest not random contact, but sustained resistance. This is not passive predation. This is conflict between titans. And in some cases, the outcome remains unknown. But perhaps the most fascinating revelation emerging from modern deep-sea exploration is that the giant squid may not be a solitary hunter in the way once believed. New observations hint at occasional clustering behavior, rare, brief encounters between individuals in the deep ocean where signals, possibly chemical or pressure-based, may facilitate recognition. If true, this would reshape everything. Because it would mean the giant squid is not only a master of individual survival, but potentially part of a larger, barely understood deep-sea communication network. A network hidden in darkness, operating beyond human perception. Still, despite these discoveries, the giant squid remains one of the least observed large animals on Earth. Most of what we know comes not from direct encounters, but from inference, from damage, from fragments, from echoes recorded by technology designed to withstand crushing pressure miles below the surface. And this raises an unsettling possibility. Perhaps the giant squid is not rare. Perhaps it is simply unseen. In the ocean's deepest layers, visibility is not just low, it is nearly non-existent. Even advanced submersibles illuminate only small cones of reality before the darkness swallows everything again. Within that narrow field of perception, a massive predator can vanish by simply moving beyond the edge of light. A single step backward into darkness is enough to erase it completely. This ability to disappear is not accidental. It is evolutionary perfection. Over millions of years, selection pressure in the deep ocean has favored creatures that do not rely on visibility, speed bursts alone, or brute strength. Instead, it has favored precision, patience, and invisibility itself. The giant squid embodies all three. Yet even perfection has limits. Recent acoustic studies suggest that the deep ocean is not silent. It is filled with low-frequency vibrations traveling vast distances, signals generated by geological activity, shifting currents, and biological movement. Some researchers propose that giant squid may use these vibrations as a kind of long-range sensing system, detecting life forms far beyond visual range. If true, then the squid is not just reacting to its environment. It is reading it at scale, like a living sonar system embedded into flesh and nerve. This idea becomes even more compelling when considering the squid's enormous eyes. They are not designed for sharp vision in the conventional sense, but for photon detection, capable of capturing even the faint glow of bioluminescent organisms drifting through the abyss. In a world where light is scarce, even a single flash becomes a message. And messages in the deep ocean are rarely accidental. They are signals of life, death, and movement. Still, for all our technological advancement, one truth remains unchanged. We have never fully witnessed a giant squid hunt from beginning to end in its natural environment. Every attempt ends the same way, with disappearance, with loss of signal, with the sudden return of darkness where something enormous was just moments before. And that absence is perhaps the greatest clue of all. Because in nature, what is most effective is often what is least seen. As exploration continues, scientists are beginning to reconsider the role of the giant squid not just as a predator, but as a central figure in the deep-sea ecosystem. A regulator of populations. A participant in evolutionary pressure. A creature whose influence may extend far beyond what its rare appearances suggest. And yet, even this may not be the full story. Because deeper still, beyond the depths where giant squids hunt and are hunted, there are zones of the ocean that remain almost entirely unexplored. Regions where pressure becomes extreme enough to challenge even the most resilient forms of life. And if the giant squid has adapted to hunt in near total darkness, what adaptations might exist in creatures that hunt it there? This question lingers like a shadow at the edge of scientific understanding. A reminder that every discovery in the deep ocean opens the door to 10 more unknowns. The giant squid is not just an animal. It is a threshold, a boundary between what we know of life and what we have yet to imagine. And as technology pushes further into the abyss, one thing becomes increasingly clear. The deeper we go, the less certain we become. Because in the world of the giant squid, the ocean is not empty. It is watching, waiting, and hunting back.